You know what's weird about watching pro gameplay? Half the time it looks like they're playing a completely different game. They move less, they ignore kills, they sit in hills doing nothing, and then 5 seconds later, they get off the hill on purpose. I went through actual competitive footage and found 15 things that look wrong until you understand the logic behind them. Some of these will feel backwards. A few might even annoy you, but every single one of them wins games. If you watch ranked lobbies, movement looks like a seizure. Slides, jumps, zigzags, all stacked on top of each other. And if you ask those players why they do it, they'd call it good movement. Pros do the opposite. In competitive, players are stiff. On purpose. Every slide you throw in is a penalty to your BSA. Every jump wrecks your centering. And the time it takes to readjust to your crosshair after a zigzag, that's milliseconds you don't get back in a game where milliseconds decide trades. If I want to win more gunfights, I need to simplify my movement and prioritize my centering over looking flashy. Here's one that looks like laziness. A pro is sitting inside a hill, not pushing out for kills, not rotating early, just sitting there. What ranked players miss is the passive points. Every second inside the hill charges your score streaks and operators faster. You're doubling your impact, getting credit for time and any kills you pick up inside a hill. The team with score streaks online first usually dictates the flow of the entire game, but this only works if your teammates have map control. If all 5 of you are soaking in the hill, one well-placed nade wipes the squad. Park in the hill while your team holds lanes. The team with streaks online first dictates everything else. We just talked about sitting on the objective. Now, here's the opposite. Pros treat the objective like a magnet. You don't always have to be on it. You just have to make the enemy think you are. In Hardpoint, if you have possession, stop pushing out. Reinforce the hill, don't chase kills that pull you away from it. In search and destroy, once the bomb's down, a pro is never sitting on top of it. They play a position where they can hear the defuse, and they wait for the tap. The enemy has to reveal themselves. The pro doesn't. That's the entire advantage. This one looks like the player forgot to move. They're behind the wall, they crouched, nothing is happening. They're listening. Sound in COD Mobile is legal wall hacks. If you're holding a position near a site and you hear 3 nades detonate at once, that tells you at least 3 players are nearby. That's information you didn't have to risk anything to get. Sounding can also be simpler. Just hold a position where you suspect an enemy is on the other side of a wall. Wait for the audio confirmation. Then when you take the fight, you're prepared. They're not. Stop moving, listen, then take the fight on your terms. Ranked players love early rotations. Get to the next hill first, set up, lock it down. That's the standard advice. But pros do the math. In a race to 250, you cycle through roughly 10 hardpoint rotations. If you give up just 10 seconds of scrap time per hill, that's 100 points you handed to the other team for free. In competitive games, 100 points is the margin. The formula is a mix of both. If there's 20 seconds left on the hill, whoever dies next plays for the new hill. Whoever is still alive plays for the scrap. Best of both worlds. If I want to stop bleeding free points, I need to fight for the scrap time instead of abandoning the hill early every rotation. Those first 5 all have something in common. They look wrong until you do the math. The next 5 are different. These are habits you cannot fake. They're pure game sense, and they're the biggest gap between ranked players and competitive ones. In Control, spawns are fixed. Take Raid. There's laundry, garden, and basketball court. If you push courtside and your team has pressure around kitchen to influence garden, the only spawn left open is laundry. Now you know exactly where the enemy is coming from before they even show up on your screen. Hardpoint is deeper because both teams can share spawns. Say your teammate is on rocks at P2 Hacienda. If you die and spawn well side instead of rocks, that means someone is over there influencing the spawns. That's a read you can act on immediately. Track which spawns are open based on where your team has presence. The read comes before they even show up on your screen. Most players look at the kill feed to check if they got the kill. Pros look at it to count. In competitive scrims, players are constantly counting to 5 in their head. If you see 3 kills happen during a rotation, you know there are only 2 players left at the next hill by the time you arrive. That changes how aggressive you can be. But it's not just names. You can pick up weapons, operators, and a life count from the feed. If you see an Annihilator kill pop up, that operator is now off the board. Combine that with a mini-map and you have a full picture of the threat. Next time you check the feed, count. Weapons, operators, alive players, not just kills. 3 players, same angle, same entry point. and the team gets flanked from behind. If 3 players are stacked in the same lane, that's not a 5v5. You just gave the enemy 2 or 3 free lanes to work with. Pros: spread out. Not everyone needs to be on the hot lane. Sometimes a player on the weaker side of the map doesn't get a single kill, but their presence alone slows the enemy push enough to buy time for the rest of the team. Every lane needs a body on it, even if that body isn't getting kills. Rush every round in search and destroy, and the defenders will pre-aim and utility dump you. Play slow every round, and the enemy takes free map control, maybe even pinches you. Pros force the other team into default by being unpredictable. A professional squad might spend the first few rounds playing picks and gathering reads. Then, once they know the trends, they change the pace entirely and abuse the weak point. Vary the approach round to round. Never let the defense settle into a rhythm. You never want a fair gunfight. That's the whole philosophy. Power positions put you somewhere that's hard to trade. Grannies on standoff. You take damage, duck, regenerate. As long as you stay alive, you're a constant problem for the other team. Off angles go a step further. There are pre-aim corners that every player has muscle memoried into their gameplay. If you hold the same lane from a slightly different angle, you throw off their crosshair placement entirely. They're aiming at the wall edge, you're 2 feet behind it. If I want to win more fights, I need to find positions where the enemy has to adjust, and I don't. 10 habits down. And if you're paying attention, you notice the pattern. Almost none of these require better aim. The last 5 are about execution. These are the habits that turn game sense into results, and the final one is something you can't take into your very next match. A good search and destroy player is defined by how hard they are to read. Most players build subconscious habits. Same spot round after round. And the moment a good opponent picks up on that pattern, you're done. No rocket science here. If your job is to watch main on Tunisia, you've got shadows, ramps, default, and more. Rotate through them, make them guess. Never hold the same angle 2 rounds in a row. Pros don't run one loadout the entire game. If your team has the spawns and the hill, you don't need smokes. You need trophies. In search and destroy, if you're rushing a site, tactical mask or survival training gives you way more value than dead silence. This applies to primaries too. Some hardpoints favor specific weapons. P1 Hacienda, a semi-auto like the Type 63 can work. P2, you need something automatic because fights are tight and fast. Switch based on the situation, not based on what you spawned in with. You just got your war machine. The ranked instinct is to push out, find bodies, and cash in on all 6 shots. Pros don't always do that. Sometimes the higher value play is zoning. Sit back, hold a lane, force the enemy to respect the operator without ever firing it. Your teammates can focus their lanes because they know yours is locked down. And then there's taking space. In control on raid, if your team needs to push A, popping a Tempest on kitchen side and just existing there opens the map for everyone else. Before you think about kills, ask what your operator skill is denying. In ranked, people throw grenades because they think someone might be there. In competitive, every piece of utility has a job order. If a trophy doesn't deflect a predator missile, if a flash doesn't lead to a kill, if a smoke doesn't block the right lane, that's wasted resources. Lineups turn random utility into systematic plays. And if there's trophies, that's what EMPs are for. Throw them at the general area where trophies would be, then follow with your smoke lineups. With simple memorization, your team's execution becomes harder to counter every single time. If I want my utility to actually win rounds, I need to learn specific lineups instead of guessing where to throw things. Pros never expose themselves to 180 degrees of danger. Corner slicing is the skill of clearing a room in small, manageable slices. Even if there are 3 players on the other side, you only ever fight one of them at a time. The corner of the wall is the center of a circle. Instead of running past it, peek a few inches at a time. But here's the detail that matters. The closer you are to the wall, the more your shoulder sticks out before you see them. So if I want to clear rooms without getting deleted, I need to keep my distance from the corner and slice instead of wide swinging into the unknown. This is something you can practice right now. Load into a match, pick any doorway, and slice it instead of swinging it. You'll start winning gunfights you used to lose. You'll stop getting traded immediately after a kill. And think about what just happened there. You didn't need faster reflexes. You didn't change your sensitivity. You decided to peek differently. And the fight was already over before it started. That's every habit in this video. Where to stand, where to listen, what to read, when to switch, how to peek. 15 habits, and not one of them asks you to aim better. The gap between ranked and competitive isn't your hands. It's what you already know before your hands have to do anything. Speaking of knowing things, habit number 1 was about simplifying your movement. But simplified doesn't mean basic. Pros still rotate through 15 specific movement techniques, and 5 of them are non-negotiable. We broke down every single one, including the exact settings and tricks you need to make them work.